lot of traits, and those traits are very, very important for you not only to be successful as an entrepreneur, but also to to do well in your life as well, whatever field you decide to be in. Because one very important thing that she started her speech with was that mind always presides over the matter. So whatever you think in your mind, that yes, I can do this, I can achieve this, that is what counts at the end of the day. In the morning, when you get up and you say, tell yourself that I may or may not be able to do this, there you go, and you start failing. The first thought that should come to your mind, yes, I will do it. Now, whether you can do it, whether you cannot do it, will happen later. But the first thing, you must have confidence on yourself that yes, I can do it. And if you think you can, no one can stop you from doing it, whatever be it. And the other thing that she definitely said was you have to overcome your fear of failure. Most of the people who, at least I know a lot of people, and maybe to some extent it includes myself also, that I have often thought of a lot of businesses but have failed to go ahead with them because of the fear of failure. Honestly, I'm being very honest and upfront with all of you, because see, if you discuss your own experience, then all of you can relate with it. I had a lot of good ideas which I could have easily started with, but as a result of my fear or my lack of confidence and thinking what will happen to my family, how will I provide for them, all these questions stopped me from taking that step, the first step. So, my dear students, you need to overcome your fear of failure, because failure will happen, and you have to have alternative parts of action, plan A, plan B, plan C. You have to keep it in mind. If this doesn't happen, that will happen. If that doesn't happen, the third alternative is there, but somehow I will succeed. And we often make the mistake of thinking that entrepreneurship is taking risks. It's not. Yes, it is taking risks, but it is not unnecessary risk. It is taking calculated risk. You will calculate your risk, and then you will take the risk, so that God forbid anything bad happens, you can again turn back and start from the scratch. Yes, it's recording. Another important thing is, last point that she covered in this video, is that always try to pre-sell your product, or whenever you have an idea of a product, start talking about it with people. Try to get the feedbacks. Try to pre-sell your products if possible. Do a lot of market research. Nowadays, you can do market research to monkey survey and all those. We don't need to go to a big agent and pay a lot of money. So make a good market research, market surveys. Talk with your probable customers and see actually what they are wanting, and fine tweak your products according to the wants of your customers. Please, like she said, that we don't want a warehouse full of goods with nobody to buy. We want our goods to be dispatched as soon as they are produced, and we want minimum storage facility for ourselves, because we want a regular turning of our working capital. So that is very, very important. Please understand the needs of your customers, and even if you think that your idea is the best, but based on your customers, if you think that the product needs a bit of improvisation or customization, please go ahead and do it, because that will ensure you have an excellent market, and your idea will ultimately launch into a successful startup. With that, I would end my discussion, and I would hand it back to Smita, because I can see that already Mr. Atanu Ghosh is here. Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, for joining us. It's a pleasure for you to be here. Smita, I hand it over back to you.
Thank you so much, Ananya, and a very warm welcome to Mr. Atanu Ghosh. Thank you for taking out time and being here with us. To do a formal introduction of Mr. Ghosh, who has been a very, very big supporter of IIHM Sahas initiative, I would like to request Ms. Ritu Jolly, Associate Director, Training and Placements, to kindly do the honors. Ritu, over to you.
Thank you, Smita, and very good evening, Mr. Ghosh, and good evening to everyone here. And thank you once again, as Smita says, thank you for taking time out. Mr. Ghosh, Atanu Ghosh, for those of you who don't really know him, apart from being just a supporter of Sahas, he himself is an entrepreneur he has founded and is the CEO of Blue Beaks Solutions, which is engaged in education, research, and consulting in the digital transformation domain. And Salt and Soap, which is an e-commerce technology and analytics platform. Before his entrepreneurial stint, he was a director of IBM. He was a principal with PwC Consulting, and has also been a consultant with various Fortune 100 companies in India, US, UK, such as British Petroleum, Shell, Tata Steel, Johnson and Johnson, and so on, amongst various other companies. And he is just the right person to really take forward and explain the entrepreneurial mindset. And I'm sure he would love to even answer your questions if you have any. Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, and I'll hand it over to you to take this ahead now.
Thank you and good evening. It's always great to be back and associated with Shahas and talk to the wonderful students. And thank you for a wonderful introduction. Before I start about the entrepreneurial mindset, I think the most important thing for everybody before one starts off a journey of entrepreneurship, which is not an easy journey, let me tell you that, but also an exciting journey. So anything which is not easy is always exciting. So it's very important to set the objective. So why do somebody become an entrepreneur? If you ask somebody why do you become an entrepreneur, why do you want to become an entrepreneur, you typically get various answers. Like somebody will say that I want to earn money, somebody will say that I want to be my own boss, and these are the typical responses that you get when you ask somebody that why do you want to become an entrepreneur, especially students who are just starting their career. So my advice to the students would be to understand why you want to become an entrepreneur. So that's the first thing before you have an entrepreneurial mindset, and that will let you know that whether you have an entrepreneurial mindset and how to grow an entrepreneurial mindset. So let me take one by one. Many people believe that if one becomes an entrepreneur, you are your own boss, and probably that is one of the big motivators of becoming an entrepreneur. While that is partially true in the sense that probably you will have a company and you will probably be the CEO of that company. Now, if that is the only motivation that for which you want to become an entrepreneur, probably you might get disillusioned very soon. Because while you might be a boss of your company, remember that you are not independent. You can't do things which you at your own whatever you like. For example, ultimately you have to service the customer. Okay, so we always say that the customer is the boss. So ultimately, even if you may not have a boss in your organization, you have to service your customers and you have to listen to them. You have to satisfy their requirements, and you have to make them happy. So they are equally your boss. Okay, so you actually have to work towards their betterment. Then comes the employee. Remember, being an entrepreneur is a big responsibility. So while there's a perception that as an entrepreneur you are the employer and you are basically employing others and who are servicing you, today in a knowledge economy, this situation is very, very different. Employees, remember, are your partners. So they are you need them as much as they need you. And especially in certain kind of businesses, which is let's say knowledge business and all, employees can be very, very important. So you need to have a mindset where you treat your employees as your business partner, kind of your business partners, rather than having the mindset that you are providing employment to them and they are dependent on you. So if you are having kind of a aspiration of being an entrepreneur because you want to become an employer and you want to see a lot of people working in your organization and that makes you feel happy, you may be pleasantly disillusioned because in a knowledge world, employees are as valuable as you. And sometimes in today's context, actually, an employee may be earning more than you. An employee can be earning actually more than an entrepreneur, because that particular employee can be very, very valuable. Okay, and they may be, you need to give them the due, at least for a shorter period of time. Then you have the investors. I think the previous video we're talking about the scaling up. So while when you start probably you don't have a clear roadmap in terms of scaling up. Gradually, you will, of course, any entrepreneur would like to scale up, and we all know that scaling up is not possible without funds. So once funds come in and once your investors come in, remember that investors will have their priorities, and you have to ensure that the investors get the return on the investment that they are making on your company. So you have your employees, you have your customers, and you have your investors whom you have to make happy. So it's not that you can do anything and everything at your own sweet will. So that doesn't happen. So that's one part of the thing that you need to understand as an entrepreneur. Okay. The second thing is, the second point that I was trying to make, or the second point that I mentioned, was many students at their young age, when they take up entrepreneurship, they think that I am taking entrepreneurship because I want to earn money. Now, when we look at that, yes, obviously entrepreneurs, the legendary entrepreneurs, whether in India or globally, they are obviously they are billionaires. They have made billions. Okay, so that's what it is. However, remember, they are only a small number. Okay, and to start with, remember, entrepreneurship is a lot of struggle. Just to give you a comparison, let's say a student from let's say a management or engineering institute, if gets a salary, joins a company after graduation and gets a salary X, probably if he or she starts an entrepreneurship, compared to his friend, at least in first few months and maybe first few years, he will be earning much less than what his or her friends would be earning by joining a corporate. Okay, so this is a hard reality that if you're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, you have to accept, because some of your friends may be joining a corporate and they surely will be earning much more than you are doing. They're going to have a much better lifestyle than what you are doing in the short run. In the short run, not in the long run, may not be in the long run, but in the short run, definitely they're going to earn more than what you are going to earn. Now, are you willing to make the sacrifice? That's the question. So at that point of time, if you get disillusioned, okay, your friend is, riding a good car, and as in the previous video we saw that the founders of Airbnb, they're moving house to house, taking their photograph. And at that point of time, they didn't know that it will become an Airbnb. So it was a very, very hard work for them. And I'm sure their friends would have been probably having a very, very cushy life at that point of time. So if you at that point of time feel that, okay, my friends are, enjoying life much more than what I'm doing, then you will not probably see the end of the day as an entrepreneur. So having said this, then you may ask the question that what is it that motivates an entrepreneur? What is an entrepreneurial mindset? So remember that entrepreneurial mindset is all about taking challenge. So if you are internally motivated to take challenge of doing something new, if you are internally motivated to take challenge of innovating, okay, and that's where entrepreneurship probably varies or differs from a conventional business. So there's a thin line between being an entrepreneur and doing a conventional business, because in a conventional business you're not necessarily looking at innovation, but innovation is a very, very important ingredient in entrepreneurship. So whenever we talk about entrepreneurship, we are talking about making something new, not, let's say, opening another petrol pump. Okay, that can be a business, but opening another petrol pump is not really an entrepreneurship, because in that sense, because you are not doing something new, unless of course you have the vision of building probably another Reliance. So that's a different situation altogether, but otherwise it's not. So when you're looking at innovation, you must internally have that aspiration to innovate. You must be able to challenge yourself to innovate and do new things. And that must be driving you, because if money is driving you, if being independent is driving you, it is possible that within the first few months and maybe sometimes first few years, you will get disillusioned because you may not see the money or may not see the independence which you thought you will be getting by being an entrepreneur. But if your motivation is innovation, if your motivation is taking challenge, then you will get a lot of satisfaction by getting into that path, because no other profession will probably give you this satisfaction that entrepreneurship will provide. Then the next thing is, I think some of the things that were spoken about in the previous session, that talking about the scalability and the minimum viable product. That is, how do you basically go about designing the product and innovating the product. Now there are two things. Remember that one is what the market wants, okay, and the other is what your capability is. Okay. Now, not necessarily these will match. For example, market may want a new kind of cuisine, okay, but I am by inherently not a good chef. So there is a demand in the market for a new kind of cuisine. But if I am not a good chef, if that is not something that I'm passionate about, I don't like to cook, and even if there's a market demand and there's a huge market opportunity there, I will not be able to meet that. Okay, so that is one side of it. The other side of it is I may be able to do something great. Okay, for example, I may be an excellent artist. Okay, but unfortunately, there may not be enough market for that, or I may not have access to that market to sell my painting. So in that situation, I may have a great product, I may have a ability to do certain great things, but I don't have the market to sell that. So it's very important to match the two. It is not always that you will get an ideal situation that you have a market for something and you also have the ability to meet that market, what the market needs. And similarly, you have the capability of doing something or the passion to do something, and there is a market and there are buyers for that. Okay? So it's not necessary that it will be matching. So you need to find a fitment among the two. That is, you need to see what products, what kind of demands are there in the market, and what you actually like doing. Because if you don't like doing the struggle that I was mentioning, the fact that you have to struggle in the initial years, you will not feel like giving that struggle, because if you don't want to do the things that you are trying to do. So you need to find out that thing where you have the market as well as you like to do that. Okay, so this getting that match is very, very important. After you get the match, then comes the question of how do you start and how do you build a product. Many times the question of funds come in, the question of bootstrapping comes in. So remember that you have to start small, and that is what the previous video was talking about. If you think that in the beginning a lot of money will come to you, somebody will put a lot of money, bet a lot of money on your idea, and you can build on it, that probably is not going to happen, because why would somebody believe? So you have to figure out a way by which you build a small product. This is called a minimum viable product. You build a small product. If you look at, let's say, Facebook. Okay, how did Facebook start? Facebook didn't start the way today we see Facebook. Okay, Facebook started as a simple application that was to be used by the students of Harvard University. And at that point of time, probably Mark Zuckerberg did not even imagine that this is going to be what it is currently. And the usage of Facebook will be what as extensive as we see now. It was purely a way to network the students of a university. So similarly, whenever you are thinking of a business, okay, you think of something that is doable at a small scale, and something which is valuable, something that is a natural value into it. Okay, so if you have to push one of the litmus tests is, if you have to push your product and if you have to sell your product, if you are making a too many sales call, if you have to spend a lot of money in selling your product, that means there is no natural demand for your product. If there's no natural demand for your product, it is very difficult to bootstrap a product and organization, because that means there is no, that may be a good thing for an established funded company, because they will put in a lot of money and they will ensure that a lot of sales activities are done, a lot of marketing activities are done, and the product is pushed through the customers. But you as a startup, you don't have that wherewithal. So you have to create a natural demand. Okay, go back to the same stories of Google or Facebook. Okay, did Google or Facebook spend any money on marketing? No. If you go back to the history, even today, probably Facebook, Google, companies of those WhatsApp. Have you ever seen any advertisement of WhatsApp? No. You have seen so many advertisements of soaps and movies and cars and all. But have you ever seen a ad of WhatsApp? No. So how did WhatsApp become so popular? Because there's a natural demand. People needed that kind of product and people automatically adopted it. So if you are able to make that kind of a product which people will automatically need, and today it is very easy to get that word of mouth. If people need that product, automatically there will be a spread. Okay? So if you can create that, then naturally your expenditure on your marketing dollars will be less. Later you need external funding, the better, because obviously till that time your valuation of the product goes up. Earlier you take the funding, the valuation of the product is less, because you have to take the funding at a lesser value of the product. So, and to do that, you have to have the natural demand in the market. You have to ensure that there is a natural pull in the market. And and in order to get that, it is very important to understand the sweet spot. What is it that customers actually need? Look at this Zoom, the way something like Zoom has actually caught up. Probably 2 months back, very few people would have heard Zoom. Okay, but they understood the sweet spot of the customers. Why Zoom was so successful, and let's say something like Google, even though being Google Meet is not that successful, because simple things like right now we are seeing the way the way all the tiles, all the speakers are being shown. This feature was not there in Google Google Meet. So Zoom could find out that, okay, this is if you are if 10 people are meeting or 20 people are meeting, then all of them would like to see each other like a television, like a mix of screens. They could imagine that latent requirement in the minds of the people. So if you do that, then obviously again Zoom is another classical example. Did you see any advertisement of Zoom? The entire use or adoption of Zoom was totally organic. Even today there is no advertisement of Zoom. So everybody has come. How have they come to know about it without advertisement? Because Zoom was able to understand the demand. So once you know what a customer needs, okay, and that's what we mean by customer is the king. Now, when we say customer is the king, people think that it is about trying to impress the customer. No, when we say customer is the king, it means that you are able to understand the real requirement of a customer, so that even if you don't market anything, still the customer will come and buy your product. And if you have a passion for that innovation, and that's where entrepreneurship is different, because entrepreneurship finds out that gap. They find it through innovation. So if you are able to do that, then automatically, even with very little funding, with a very small product, you will be able to catch the imagination of the customer, and you'll very soon become large. And then that will give you the satisfaction, which will make you forget all the other things that we thought of, the struggle and all other things that comes along with entrepreneurship. Okay, so that's what my thought was, just to help develop their entrepreneurial mindset. but it's very, very important that you first have that mindset before you actually get into entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Atanu Ghosh. It was excellent. Hearing from an entrepreneur like you gives a lot of exposure to our students. And I have one question from our very own Ritu Jolly ma'am, and she is asking, what kind of market research can we do to understand the needs and requirements of the customers?
Okay, so today doing market research is much more easy than what we used to do a few years back, because today it's a digital world and it is much easier to do market research. For example, if you're developing an app or something like that, it's an app-based product, then all that you need to do is probably just float the minimum viable product, and there is a lot of analytics that the app will give, which itself will tell you that whether customers are getting engaged with your app, or which particular products they're engaged with, and you can do a lot of analysis even with what kind of demographics are getting engaged and all those stuff, even without actually conducting any question answer. If it is a more of a brick and mortar kind of business where you really don't have an app or a website, hardly, in today's business, it's very difficult to find out such business where you don't have a digital front end. But assuming that you still have, you still can use things like Google Forms, okay, which can help you to at least send the Google Forms to your known people and do market research on that. These days this is much easier compared to the olden days when you actually have to have field sales force to collect the data. Now, having said that, it is also very important to understand that when you are developing a new product, it is not necessary that market research will give you the right data. We have that classical example of Walkman. I think many of you know probably when Walkman was invented, everybody felt that that product is not going to work, because who is going to really listen to music walking around, right? And they were proven wrong. So many new products, when we talk about new products, market research is very, very useful when you talk about existing products. And when you talk about very revolutionary new product, many times market research is not, may not give you the right picture, because even the consumer doesn't know what is coming. Okay, and so you have to make that product to make the consumer realize that what is coming. It's something like food. All of you are from hotel industry. So if you tell me that I have created a new recipe and this is the entire list of recipe, it will not impress me, because I don't know whether the food is good or bad. Only when you make the food and make me taste, then only I'll be able to say that, okay, it's good or bad. Okay, so many times new products are like that. Okay, new product, you have to actually make it, and that's why we call we bring in the concept of minimum viable product. That means you cannot make the entire product, because that will be too expensive, too complex. So make the minimum product and give it to the customer and see how the customer is taking it. Okay, so that's probably how you typically do market research in a new product environment.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. I hope, Ritu ma'am, your question is answered.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, I have a question. Actually, sure. I'm asking on behalf of the students. Is that a few of the students are coming to me and talking, and they have good plans, but they're very afraid, right? They are not being able to come out of that fear of starting something, or the fear of failure. So as an entrepreneur, sir, 1 or 2 tips how to get out of that fear, because that is, I think, the first thing that the students need, a moral boost. So if we can have it from you, then that will really help the students.
Yeah. See, first of all, I think the most important thing to understand is all the students are very early in their career. So whenever you have a fear of failure, the best thing is to know what is the worst that can happen. Okay, so what is the worst that can happen? You will fail. Okay, and you get to know that you have failed in a 1 year, maximum 2 years time. Okay, and 2 years is not the end of life for most of the students at this age. So most of them are in 20, 22. Assume that you just started your career 2 years later. Okay, and you are good. So when you think like that, when you think that, okay, the worst thing that can happen is probably I lose 2 more years. That's all. Okay, 2 more years in my early stage of my career, and I have the entire career to live with, and that's the maximum, because usually it doesn't take that much of time. Within 6 months, you'll probably realize what is going wrong or what is going right, and then there's nothing really to be afraid of, okay, because that's all you're going to lose.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. There is a question from one of our students, Kundan Tiwari.
Yeah.
Kundan, can you unmute yourself and ask the question? IT team, can you please help Kundan to unmute himself? Because Kundan, can you? Yes, please go ahead and ask your question, Kundan.
Hello, sir. I just want to ask you. Yes, I am reading some books regarding the entrepreneurship. I'm learning still about the entrepreneur, and like at this stage when I undergraduate, and like many questions come in mind that like I have ideas, different type of ideas, and I am seeing that the big companies are also implementing that thing is in mind, that I observe the things around and I want to implement. Also, sir, I want to just ask a question that how you define a startup as a technology. Like as I read it on the books that technology is something which is taking the world to a different stage, and that is only a startup, creating new things and thinking of a future. And so second question is that how to like I am thinking of a future. So other people will say that that is not true. That will not come. That will not become true. So how to convince people? And like I am a a hotel management student. So like you said that a chef can cook both things should be matched, na sir? Like. So if I have an idea but I need a app developer person, so how can I convince a person to join my company so that we can together. My question is to how to build a team if you are starting a startup.
Yeah, so quite a few questions. So let me answer you one by one. I think the first question I'd like to answer is when you say that people are asking. I mean, if this is not happening or something is not going to happen, okay, and how to handle that, because obviously when you go to entrepreneurship, again there'll be probably pressure from your families and friends who will say that, okay, your friend has joined this company, that company, you are doing this. Okay, so I'm sure that kind of thing is there. So remember that when you are looking at the, don't look at the end result. End result will come. If you are enjoying your journey, that means, let's say, if you are building something, a new recipe or a new way of, let's say, packaging food or something like that, when you are thinking of something, the sheer joy of building that new thing will make you forget what is going to happen. Okay, so you are not at the time. You are not at the time. See, when Virat Kohli or Tendulkar is playing a shot, you cannot play a shot looking at the boundary line. Okay, do you play cricket? All of us do, right? Some way or the other. So when you play a shot, you don't look at if you look at when you look at the ball, right? When you play a shot, you look at the ball. You don't look at the boundary line. If you look at the boundary line, you miss the ball. Right? It's like that. So when you're an entrepreneur, you get the joy in making that thing, like an artist. An artist, when he paints, or a musician when he composes the music, a musician never thinks that, okay, I'm composing this music, how much records I'm going to sell, what money I'm going to earn. No. That will happen. That will happen automatically if it is a good piece of music. But at that point of time, the musician is only interested about to make a good piece of music, or artist is interested about making a good painting, or Sachin Tendulkar is interested about making the right stroke. So whether it will be a boundary or a sixer, that will be the outcome. So don't think about the outcome. Think about what you're doing now and enjoy that. Then what will happen, these questions will not matter to you. For those who are asking the question, what is going to happen, how much you're going to earn, what will happen if you fail. All those questions will not matter to you because you will enjoy doing what you are doing and you will think that I am already getting it. Okay. So that is what the question that you had about. That's a typical question that you have what other people are thinking about the whole thing. Second is, you are absolutely right. Today, when you are building a new business, most of the new business requires some form of technology or some way or the other. And if it is not technology, it may require multiple expertise. Okay, let's say you are a chef and you know a new recipe, but let's say you need to have a new way of packaging. So you need somebody, let's say an engineer who understands packaging. Okay, so does not have to necessarily, technology doesn't mean only information technology. Technology can be any type of technology. So do not think of, you cannot employ in the beginning. Okay, if you have to find out real people, good people, you cannot hope to employ them because you will not have the salary. You won't be able to pay the salary. Okay, how will you pay the salary? Because you yourself are not earning that much. So you have to make them partners. Okay, so you have to find out the right type of partners. Okay, and that is where your college batchmates, your school batchmates. You have to find out among the school batchmates if somebody is in that particular line, if somebody is, let's say, meet an app developer, if somebody is developing app with whom your chemistry matches, because that's also very important. Just because he has the expertise, it's not always prudent to bring in the team, because if the chemistry doesn't match, then that might create a conflict. Okay, so you find out who are the people who can be adding value to you, and then you form a team, you form a partnership company. There are ways of forming companies very easily today. You form partnership company and you start as co-founders, not necessarily as employer-employee relationship. Okay. And I think your third question was that, or the first question rather, if I understood correctly and remember correctly, was you think of something and you think that the big company is also doing that. Now there are two things. See, there is always a variation that you can bring. Okay, you find a biryani in a 5-star. You also find a biryani in the Sector 5 footpath outside. Both have customers. So how is it both have customers? Because both are catering to different customers. Both are catering to different. They have their different unique selling proposition or USP. So just because a big company is doing, it's not that you can't do it. You have to find your niche market. You have to find your, how your product and your market is different from what the big company is doing. And there is always even if you look at, let's say, globally, McDonald's, the burger, that doesn't mean that even if you go globally, you still have mom and pop burgers. Okay, people who make specialized burgers. Okay, so not that everybody is eating McDonald's. So everywhere there is a place for a niche product. Okay, so and you have to find out that niche market, and that is where the passion and your market has to match. And if you are passionate about something, you will find that, because if you are a chef, you will find where people will need something, because you understand that product very well. So you will know that, okay, this is something that I can make and which people don't have. So if you have the passion for something, you will find a market for that. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, taking so much patience to answer 3 questions of Kundan. And we are almost at the end of the session. We have 2 questions from Aishwarya. Aishwarya is a budding entrepreneur and she has made quite a big business plan. We were going through it a few days back and she's very excited about her project also. So she has 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
IT team, can you please unmute Aishwarya? Let her ask it herself. That is what she has requested me personally. So I'm letting her ask the question herself.
Sure.
Evening. Thank you, everyone, and a very good evening. So I wanted to ask you regarding my business. Basically, bootstrapping is an issue, especially during COVID period. I cannot raise finance properly, but I want to build a website where actually I can let people know the product before I launch it into the market in order to gain the feedback. However, a website, like when I go to a specified person for making a website, it will cost like 2 to 3 lakhs. However, can I do the same with a template? Like, how is it? Like, is a
Yeah, see,
template
first of all,
website good?
yeah, no, first of all, okay, I of course don't know enough details about your business, but often let me tell you that if you are thinking of building a website for informing about your business, I don't think it should cost 2 to 3 lakhs, even if you get it done by a professional website developer. Okay, because you are just kind of launching the product, you are just letting people know about your product, and there's no way it should be so expensive. Okay, so there must be some gap there. Okay, but though I don't know the details of it. Second is that yes, there are a lot. If it is a very simple website, there are a lot of templates, and instead of going, if it is a very basic website, instead of going to somebody else, I'll recommend that you or maybe a couple of your friends just try it out yourself. Because today making a website is quite easy. Okay, and there are a lot of YouTube videos where you can learn on your own, and you can just build the website on your own instead of going to different people. You just heard about this Airbnb story where they took photographs of individual houses. So, and I think the speaker specifically made a mention about that they could have gone to let's say an agency to take photograph, but they did not do that because it helped two things. Of course, they didn't have, I mean, initially, just like you, they also didn't have money to employ an agency and take professional photographs. So they did themselves. The second is, in the process, they learned about the business. Because when you develop a website on your own, you yourself will learn about what the customer wants. When you show the website, you will learn that, okay, the customer is asking for something. So I would suggest that put in a little bit of effort. These days are very easy. And you build the website yourself instead of going, and maybe you join hands with a couple of friends of yours and build a website yourself instead of just spending 2 to 3 lakhs.
So one more question over here. Usually what happens in the website, for example, if I'm planning to target, say, suppose I want to sell 1,000 products in a day. Okay. So the thing is, for that, at least I need to attract 8,000 people to my website to gain that traffic.
Don't think of selling 1,000 products in a day. Sell one product. Sell your first product.
Yeah, I mean, like, only launching,
so
sir,
sell your first product.
Yes.
Sell your first product.
Yes, sir.
After that, I will think 1,000 products.
Sure, sir. So could you please explain the CAC, the customer acquisition cost? That is a bit, confusing, which I could not understand even while going through the YouTube. If you could just throw some light on that.
Customer acquisition cost means the cost you incur for getting more customers. So, for example, you have to maybe do some Facebook marketing or some other digital marketing, and whatever money you spend, and that is divided by the money that you get from the customer divided by whatever you spend. That's the cost that you incur for every customer, or the other way around. The money that you spend divided by that number of customers. But the point is, don't get into all those. The first thing is that these are calculations that can happen later. Your first job is that you make a product, put it on a website, sell to 2, 3, 5, maybe to your friends, maybe to your family, maybe the entire IIHM community. That's your first target market. As long as you're making something which none of the community consumes, that's a different thing. But I am assuming that if it is a product which it is useful for everybody, then you first sell to them. Okay, there's no marketing cost involved. I'm sure you can have this kind of in Saha's forum and all. You can talk about your product, and maybe I can request also to Mrs. Ghosh to think about this kind of things where you can say that this is my product, and you have 2,000 students and the faculty as your customers. I don't know what are you making, by the way, if you can share.
So it is basically health and nutrition. So we are into actually the business. I cannot disclose over here, sir.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Basically health and nutrition.
So as long as let's say all of our can buy your product, and this is the first forum where you probably can talk about your product. Okay, and then your
Mr.
customer
Ghosh,
acquisition cost is zero.
excuse me, Mr. Ghosh, I think Aishwarya, I have seen her business plan. It was nice to have you today. And I have seen her business plan. I think she wants to give a advertisement of the business plan products in the website before launching it.
Okay, yeah, sure.
It's not ready.
Okay, sure.
Because sorry, so please go ahead.
Yeah.
No issues.
So if you want to do that, if it's just an advertisement about your product in your website, you just you can develop a basic website and put your products over there. Okay, and popularize that website through your friends, community, etc., who can be your likely customers. Okay?
Because the products are not ready, can she do the website with the products?
Sorry, I didn't get that word.
The products are not ready, but I think she wants to give the model.
Yeah. You can always say coming soon. And you can actually that's a very good way to get feedback from the potential customers. What do they think about the product? Okay, so you can tell about the type of product, the features, etc., and say that what do you feel about the product, and maybe coming soon in next 3 months or 6 months or whatever. Okay? And that will help you to give get an idea about what people are feeling about the product.
Certainly, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable information and time to answering the questions.
Yes, Aishwarya. Okay, so best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. There is one quick question from Tosi. That can you, sir, please explain about the calculated risk in a bit simpler way?
I think, calculated risk was the term that was the term was used. I think in the previous. See, it is about sometimes you need to assess the resources that you have at your disposal, okay, and what you can do with the resources. Okay, so if you are trying to do something which is far beyond your resources, okay, then let me give you an example. Let's say you want to scale Mount Everest, but let's say I want to scale Mount Everest. Now, that may be my final aspiration, but I can't do it now because I don't have the resources. You need a certain physical, certain physical fitness. Certain other resources. I need the mountaineering equipment. I need probably the training to actually go there. Okay, so I can't just think of scaling Mount Everest. Maybe I'll start with just saying that I'm going to do a 10-kilometer trek. Okay, maybe that's something that is feasible at this point of time. Even if that is not feasible, let's say I'm not really fit, then probably I'll start with maybe a few rounds of jogging, okay, and then make myself fit and go there. Okay. So by calculated risk, you need to understand the resources that you have and what is possible to achieve with that resource. You of course have to you have to stretch it. So if I have the capability to run, let's say 2 kilometers, I'll try and run 3 kilometers. That is a stretch. But I'll not try to run 10 kilometers because I know that today if I run only 2 kilometers, if I try to run 10 kilometers, I actually may have a heart failure because that is too much. My heart will not take that. So this is what calculated risk is. So you have a capability and you have to stretch it gradually.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, so much. Thank you once again. I would like to hand it over back to Smita for making the concluding remarks for today's session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ghosh. Always a pleasure listening to you. And I think being an entrepreneur and an educationist, I think you bring a unique perspective to the whole situation of entrepreneurship. And I think we are gaining immensely by your knowledge. So thank you so much. And I'm sure we will be knocking at your doors for more such sessions because it's an absolutely enlightening session. The students are enjoying join. There are few students on Zoom, but just for your knowledge, sir, we are going live on YouTube and Facebook. So the questions are coming there also.
Okay.
We will be bringing you those questions, sir, probably via email, or I can WhatsApp them to you if that's all right with you. So thank you
definitely.
so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ghosh, for your time.
Yeah.
Before we end, sir, in one simple word, as an educationist and an entrepreneur yourself, what do you think is that one unique quality, just one quality that you think that the entrepreneur, and especially a young entrepreneur who is just about to start, needs to possess? Just one thing that you know that no one can succeed without this quality.
Adventurous. I think every entrepreneur has to be adventurous.
Fantastic. I think that that's the sum of the whole session today. So thank you so much, and I'm sure our students are ready for many more adventures in their life. I'm sure with the guidance and with the mentorship that you will provide with the internal committee, the advisory committee, which you are also part of, will be providing them. They are going to scale many more mountains, and they are going to go ahead with a good knowledge about the situation. So thank you once again, Mr. Ghosh. Ma'am Bose, would you like to say a final remark on this, please?
Thank you. I am sorry I joined very late, and it was really always nice to have you with like your suggestions are very good, and we will be happy to know some of them. Some of our students are bringing very good ideas, and we are thinking of pitching all India. We are thinking of sending them for pitching. Before that, we are preparing them because still we feel certain things are not ready. And that's why we want to educate them before they go for pitching, so nothing goes wrong. At least they'll be happy to present their idea. And we are trying for that soon. Yes.
My pleasure,
and next session we are. Thank you, Mr. Ghosh.
Yeah, and it is always a pleasure to interact, and it's a great idea. So happy to be involved.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ghosh. And ladies and gentlemen, with this, we come to the end of today's session. We will be back again on Saturday and subsequently on Thursdays every week. So thank you so much. Take care of yourself and stay safe. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.